Black people want to have the choice to live where they want to. If black people want to live in Mount Vernon, New York, or New Rochelle, or New York City on East 67th Street, they can. And they too can live in Soul City.
The guiding light behind the project is Floyd McKissick.
In this new town, persons will be able to control their own destinies.
McKissick had the idea that it was now time to build.
We were going to send a message to the rest of the state and the rest of the country that yes, we are on the way.
Black people feel rejected. They feel like they're being pushed into a corner. They feel that there is no hope, there's not a chance. It's a matter of hopelessness. It's frustration.
Soul City has a short but controversial history, criticized over the years by Senator Jesse Helms and others as mismanaged.
There are some folk who don't believe that a black man could do it or should be doing it.
Department of Housing and Urban Development said it's cutting its ties to Soul City, North Carolina.
Investigation was requested by Senator Jesse Helms.
False accusations got reprinted day after day after day. We were attacked viciously by Senator Helms.
Suffice it to say, Jesse Helms was never a friend of African Americans.
I can't help but think that that's politically motivated and possibly racially motivated.
It just was all like washed away.
Soul City's developer says the action is unfair.
It's just like aborting a child before its development.
They've just gotten to where they could really have a chance.
Floyd just had too much to overcome.
It didn't fully realize the dream, but we implemented a piece of the dream, and it changed people's lives.
Today in America, 90% of our people live and work on 2% of our land. Our cities are becoming inhumane. Our rural areas depressed. In North Carolina, we're making a fresh start at Soul City.
With us today, Floyd B. McKissick, National Director of the Congress of Racial Equality. His organization, CORE, is considered one of the most militant of the civil rights groups.
Could you define very quickly for us your concept of black power?
Two little bitty words in the English language. One, black. Everybody that's going to the 6th grade knows what black means. Power. Everybody that's going to the 6th grade knows what that means. And I get a letter from a professor at Harvard says, explain black power. That means putting power in black people's hands. We don't have any, and we want some.
Floyd McKissick was a World War II veteran and the attorney who integrated the University of North Carolina's law school in 1951. He led the Congress of Racial Equality and marched alongside Martin Luther King Jr. and Stokely Carmichael. After years in the movement, his conclusion was practical. Legal rights are incomplete without economic power. For black communities to truly have a seat at the table, they needed to own the table itself.
We believe that we ought to come together as black people, and each of us contributes a basic philosophy which fits into one cup, so that out of that cup, we have got something that is much stronger than having one structure. We have other structures that can function and other structures that bring other people in.
In 1969, he announced Soul City, a planned multiracial community in one of North Carolina's poorest counties.
A Negro leader today announced plans for creation of a black-built, black-owned town to be called Soul City in North Carolina.
In this new town, persons will be able to control their own destinies. Black people want to have the choice to live where they want to. If black people want to live in Mount Vernon, New York, or New Rochelle, or New York City on East 67th Street, they can. And they too can live in Soul City.
He built it on a former tobacco plantation where people had once been enslaved.
This is Soul City. We own approximately 2,500 acres of land here. This is the old big house. In slavery time, the slaves lived in these quarters. As far as you can see around here, we own. This is where Soul City will rise into its own.
He secured over $30 million in federal and state support. This wasn't just a small neighborhood project. It was a total master plan for a modern society. At the heart of it was Soltech 1, a massive 73,000 square foot facility designed as an industrial incubator to provide 24,000 jobs and act as an engine for new businesses. McKissick's vision was built around a 10-minute life, where residents would have their homes, jobs, and doctors all within a 10-minute radius. The community was supposed to be a model of modern living, complete with bike paths, swimming pools, a preschool center, and state-of-the-art healthcare. One of the first major successes was the construction of a regional water system that was the largest of its kind in North Carolina at the time, providing clean water to the entire county, not just Soul City. To get the necessary funding, McKissick did something that shocked many of his peers by teaming up with Richard Nixon. It was a calculated move to play the game by aligning with Nixon's interest in black capitalism. In 1972, the government handed over $14 million in federal loan guarantees to kickstart the project through HUD's New Towns program. In November of 1973, they finally broke ground on Soul City. For a while, it actually seemed to be working. Pioneers moved into homes on streets with names like Liberation Road and Freedom Circle. In 1975, the momentum stopped. The Raleigh News and Observer ran a series of articles accusing Soul City of corruption, nepotism, and mismanagement of federal funds. Senator Jesse Helms took those articles straight to Washington and demanded a federal audit. This is the same Jesse Helms who had spent years on Raleigh television opposing the civil rights movement, who voted against the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and who had already told McKissick directly he was going to kill Soul City.
Senator Helms got elected. Floyd McKissick sent him a letter congratulating him. Senator Helms responded to Mr. McKissick saying, "Thank you so much for your kind words. One of my first acts is going to be to try to close you down."
I think it's fair to say that Jesse Helms probably thought of my father as the Antichrist.
The government froze all funding to Soul City while they investigated. For a full year, Soul City couldn't build. In development, a year of frozen funds is a death sentence. No businesses invest, and no residents move to a city under federal investigation. After a year of silence, the verdict came back. No fraud, no corruption, no mismanagement. But the damage was already done. The investigation created enough doubt to scare off the private industry the city needed to survive. In 1979, the government withdrew its support.
The Department of Housing and Urban Development said it's cutting its ties to Soul City, North Carolina.
There have been hopes that industry would come here. That never happened. That's why the government concluded the project would never make money.
I think racial prejudice is what makes people say we have failed.
I just don't know what we're going to do. I'm too old to move anyplace else. You know, I wouldn't like to move. We love at home here.
Without federal money and without industry here, this town will not survive.
If you drive through the area today, the atmosphere is a bit haunting, but still impressive. The Soltech 1 building, which was supposed to be a hub of innovation, has been converted into a prison work complex where inmates produce janitorial supplies. The old Healthco clinic, which provided affordable dentistry and pharmaceuticals to the region for decades, is now covered in vines and abandoned. Despite the project's end, the legacy isn't a total loss. The regional water system they built remains a vital piece of infrastructure for the entire county to this day. Some of the original residents still live in the houses they built decades ago, and McKissick himself stayed in the community until he passed away in 1991. The site stands as a reminder that for a brief window of time, people were successfully building a new version of the American dream on land that once held a plantation.